What's going on, 40k scientists? We're back at it with another unit breakdown, where today we're going to take a look at how insane Magnus the Red is. This is the second other best monster in the game, alongside with the Avatar and probably the Nightbringer. Mighty Magnus over here is probably the best overall though, because he has almost limitless options with like Cabal nonsense, so we'll get into that in this episode. And if you like these unit breakdowns, then power fist the like button, thunderhammer subscribe, trick Nurgle's bell, leave a comment, check out our other videos, and we're wasting no time here, and we're just jumping right into this. This unit is Insaneronian cheese, dog. This guy is the linchpin of the army if you're playing with Thousand Suns, and if you want to win games with them, use Magnus, learn how he plays, get good, and then win best Thousand Suns player at ACO like our team did this year. And so why is Magnus so insane, you may wonder? Well, if you haven't played against him, then go do that and then come back here, because this guy's ridiculous. If you guys are hearing any background noise, I apologize for that. But why is Magnus so insane, you may wonder? Well, if you haven't played against him, go do that and then come back here, because he is just ridiculous, and he used to be even more ridiculous before the recent changes to Thousand Suns. He can do a lot, he can take a lot, and so we'll talk about his output, his durability, some of his tricks, and his very, very few drawbacks. So first, let's take a look at his datasheet, because it's cool and it's good. And it's 440 points. But yeah, he's fast as hell, moves 14, he's toughness 11, so not quite at 12, but 11 is good enough. He's got a 2-up and a 4-up, as you would expect for a Primarch, and he comes with some good weapons, both shooting and combat. So first things first, let's talk about his abilities. He gives psychic attacks within 6 inches of him, +1 to hit and wound. That in and of itself is just ridiculous, because basically every actual bullet that you fire is a psychic bullet, other than your flamers. We're just going to focus on Magnus himself, and since he buffs himself, let's do a little theory hammer, eh? Now first, we gotta stack him up a little bit, so he's gonna have Devastating Mastery for rerolls to hit and wound, so +1 to hit, +1 to wound, full rerolls. We're gonna use Twist of Fate, which did get much worse, but it's gonna make his guns +2 AP. We could throw Warp Sight on him for Ignores Cover, for free as well with Cabal points, but honestly, I don't feel like doing that. So if you want to do that, just add like 33% extra damage to what you're about to hear. So many options with this index, and I'm already starting to get overwhelmed. But basically, we're AP4, we're +1 to hit, +1 to wound, with full rerolls. So let's talk some theoretical hammers. You get 3d3 shots with your Gaze of Magnus. It's strength 9, it's going to be AP4, it's going to be damage 3. It has dev wounds built in. That's an average of 6 shots. And then your Tzeentch's Firestorm, that's going to be d6 +3 shots, and it is blast, but again, I'm feeling lazy today, so we're not even going to account for blast. So starting up with the Gaze of Magnus, anything that you're wounding on 4s that's going to have a 4-up save, so like a Land Raider in cover with Armor of Contempt, you're going to do about 8 damage to it. If you're shooting at a unit of models, I don't know what this unit could possibly be, but you'll probably kill 1 to 3, 2 to 3, depending on the number of wounds they have. If you're hitting something that you're wounding on 4s and they're getting a 5-up save, you're going to do 8 or 9 damage, maybe kill 2 or 3 models. If you're hitting something that you're wounding on 4s with a 6-up save, you do 9 to 10 damage, another 2 to 3 models. If you're wounding something on 3s, so maybe like a Riptide that has a 4-up invuln, you'll do about 9 damage to it. If it's a unit, so something that's like toughness 6 with a 4-up invuln, Custodies I guess are a great example there, you'll kill about 3 of them. If you're wounding on 3s and the opponent's getting a 5-up save, you'll do about 10 damage, kill 3 to 4 models depending on their wound count. If you're wounding on 3s and they're only getting a 6-up save, you're getting about 11 to 12 damage, another 3 to 4 models on that as well. Once we're wounding on 2s, our damage goes from 10 or higher, it goes up from 10 or higher. We do about 10 damage if you get a 4-up invuln. I don't know what that would be. It's kind of toughness 4 model that has a 4-up invuln. You do about 10 damage to those, or you kill about 3 models, just depending on the wound count. If you're wounding on 2s and you're getting a 5-up save, you do about 12 damage, so for some kind of character maybe, or you'll kill about 4 models in a unit. And then if you're wounded on 2s and they're only getting a 6-up save, you can say bye-bye to that whatever it is, probably a character. You do about 13, 14 wounds to it, or if it's a unit, you kill about 4 to 5 models. But that's not his only gun. His other gun is Tzeentch's Firestorm. And Tzeentch's Firestorm is a little bit weaker, so we do have even more to go over here. But at worst, it's wounding on 5s. You're probably at worst going to get a 3-up save, because if you have 2-up save with Armor of Contempt and Cover, this thing became AP 3, so it's now AP 1. So if you're wounding something on 5s and it's getting a 3-up save, like a Land Raider, you will still do 4.5 damage to it. If it's a unit of guys, again, we're not accounting for blast here, you'll kill 1 to 2 models. If you're wounding something on 5s and it's getting a 4-up save, you'll do about 5 damage, kill 1 to 2 models. If it's getting a 5-up save, you'll do about 5 damage, kill maybe 2 models. If it's getting a 6-up save, you'll do about 5 damage and kill about 2 models. So kind of the same there. Once you start getting them to a 4-up save, anything past that, you're generally doing the same amount of damage there. Once you start wounding on 4s, so anything that's like toughness 9 or less, you'll start doing about 5 damage or more on average. So starting with something like, I guess, a Riptide again. So I'm actually not sure a great example for 4s to wound and then the 3-up save, but 5 damage or 2 models. If they're getting a 4-up save, you're looking at about 5.5 to 6 damage, or 2 to 3 dead models. If you're getting a 5-up save, you're looking at about 6 damage exactly, or 2 to 3 models. If you're getting a 6-up, you're looking at about 7 damage, or 2 to 4 models, just depending on the wound count there. I'm kind of averaging that out. So anything that we're wounding on 3s that's going to get a 3-up save, I'm not sure what that would be, which I guess that'd be Terminators, because they're toughness 5 and I'm strength 5. You do about 6 damage to the thing, or you'll kill about 2 to 3 models. If you're getting a 4-up save, you'll do about 7 to 8 damage, kill 3 to 4 models. If you're getting a 5-up save, you do about 8 or 9 damage, kill 3 to 4 models. And then if you're getting a 6-up save, you're looking at about 10 damage, or about 3 to 5 models, just depending on their wound count. Again, I'm just kind of averaging the wounds there. But if you're wounding on 2s and they're getting a 3-up save, you still do about 7 damage, or you kill about 2 to 4 models. If they're getting a 4-up save, you do about 8 damage, kill 3 to 4 models. If they get a 5-up save, you do about 10 damage, kill 3 to 5 models there. And then finally, if you're wounding on 2s and they get a 6-up save, you do about 12 damage, or you kill about 4 to 6 models, just depending on their wound count. And so the Firestorm, not accounting for blast, is still doing a pretty good amount of damage here. Even against a Land Raider, it's putting 4 wounds on it. That is not very bad for basically a heavy bolter with dev wounds, but then we also have to go over his combat. And he is strength 16 with +1 to wound, so he's basically never going to be wounding on 4s, he's only going to be wounding on 3s or better. But when he does strike something, his sweep is not very good, so we're not even going to talk about his sweep. But when he does strike something, so when he hits something in combat that he's wounding on 3s, and he needs, gets a 4-up save, something like a Land Raider, because his combat is only AP 3, you'll do about 7 damage to it. If it's a unit of guys, something that you're wounding on 3 somehow, you'll kill 2 to 3 of them, just depending on their wound count, possibly less if they have more wounds. If you're wounding on 3s and the opponent's getting a 5-up save, you'll do about 9 damage on average, kill 3 to 4 models. If they're getting a 6-up save, you'll do about 10 damage. If it's a unit, just depending on wounds again, you'll kill 3 to 5-ish, maybe less. But if you're wounding on 2s against Land Raider, you'll do 9 damage to it on average. If you're swinging at a unit, you're going to kill 3 to 4 models, so Custodes unit, for example, you'll kill about 3 to 4 of them. If you're getting a 5-up save, so something like Votann Terminators, you'll do about 10 damage to it, or kill 3 to 5 models, just depending on that wound count there, in this case probably 5. And then if you're getting a 6-up save, you're going to do about 12 damage, 12 to 13, and you'll get about 4 to 6 models in that case there. So between his guns and his combat, he pretty much can kill most things. He won't be able to kill like entire Terminator squads, because most things will have 4-up invuln. You don't kill very much of that, but he'll still kill most of the unit because his dev wounds. Like, his dev wounds are just so nice to have. But overall, he's killing it. He's killing it out there. He's going up to units, doom bolting them, and then shooting a bunch of stuff at him, killing a bunch of other stuff. He doesn't do super great against things that are -1 damage, things like the Avatar or things like Catan, but against, most other things, he can handle himself pretty well. And speaking of durability, let's talk a little bit about Magnus's durability, because he's got some, let me say. He can blank damage with a stratagem, I forget what it's called, but it's probably on screen. He can also use a CP to reroll a failed save or invuln, and then he can use a Cabal reroll to do the same thing, and he can also choose to be -1 damage on himself. So, it takes about 1,000 bolters to kill this guy, because you're going to hit with 2/3 of those, but you're only going to wound with 1/6 of those. I'll fail about 18 saves at that point on a 2-up, but I get a Cabal reroll and I get a CP reroll, so I should be able to tank around, 950, 1,000 bolter shots. If you're shooting me with a heavy bolter and I'm not in cover, well, you only need 500. So, That's doable, right? But if I am in cover, which I am because my wings are gigantic and I'm always in cover, it's the same thing. I ignore the AP and I'm -1 to your damage. You wound me on 6s, you are equivalent to a bolt gun at that point, and you still need about 1,000 shots to get rid of me. But that's okay, because as long as you take 132 plasma shots, you can get it done with that instead. So, you know, a lot less, 10 times less in fact, not quite, but 8 times less stuff, you can get it done with that. 132 plasma gun shots, that's all you need. Maybe you're like, I want to shoot him with autocannons instead. Well, you can totally do that. You'll just need 84 or more shots, and that's a lot. But we can reduce that even more if you can just shoot 54 multi-melta shots at him in one turn, within melta range. But that's asking a lot, so I think that we should probably cut it down even further. Just take 32 las cannons, or seeker missiles, because they're basically equivalent against him. And if you don't have that, we can, the best that I can do for you is take 7 railguns. If you can't take 7 railguns, I'm sorry, I can't help you. You can't kill Magnus in one turn. And more realistically, when it comes to this kind of math, this is assuming that it's all out in the open, there's no terrain on the table, and that it's, you know, Planet Bowling Ball. This is never going to happen in real life. You're never going to actually be able to shoot 32 las cannons at the one target in this game. It's impossible. You never, even with 3 hammerheads that each shoot 1 railgun, you might get 1 in line of sight of Magnus, maybe 2 if the opponent sucks. You're not going to get all 3 of them. That's crazy. And so yeah, this guy's real hard to deal with. So Magnus is just, he's great. But like I said earlier, he is 440 points, but since he can take and put out so much damage, he's absolutely worth it. He can be hard to use though, and it's not always smart to just put him out there and try to do all this damage with him. He does die to some things, especially mortal wounds. That is one of his main drawbacks. But if Magnus is so risky to use, then how do you use him? Well, you should use him in a way that kind of plays into your army's tricks. Your army's hard to play because it has so many options and so many tricks. You're able to do so many things with Magnus, like you can move Magnus up, shoot Doom Bolts, and then move Magnus back with more Cabal points, and that allows you to use him with, like, have an impact with him, but while also staying safe. And he can also, like, use it to move twice to gain line of sight on things that he otherwise wouldn't be able to see. He can use it to, like, get across the board to create a ton of pressure. He can get away from threats to alleviate pressure, or he can just generally get to, like, weaker parts of the board that just can't deal with him. He just does whatever you need him to do that turn, and he can be really disruptive in that way because he's very hard to predict. It's very hard to know what he's going to do, and so you kind of have to, like, use those mind games to your advantage if you can. And Magnus can also buff the movement of your army, which is very key in the early turns when he doesn't really need to be exposed or is exposed to areas that don't have much impact on him. Giving out a 6-inch aura from his base, like, his base is huge, so it's more like an 8-inch aura from a regular character, but giving out that movement buff on an army that's slow as shit is really nice to have. And it works on everything. Works on vehicles, infantry, himself. And then his last ability is completely useless to talk about, but the -1 damage on him or the +2 move on, like, your army are both already reasons to consider taking him in a list, let alone how much output and durability that he can add. And Magnus on his own is not why Magnus is good. Magnus with access to everything that Thousand Suns, like, get is why he's so good. Like, he can move twice. He can shoot out dev wounds all over the place. He's supported by abilities like the Disco Sorcerer that can slow people down, and things like Vortex Beast that kind of make target priority difficult because they do also do a ton of mortal wounds if they can get close to things. He just pairs really well with things like rubrics. He allows them to move faster. They supplement his firepower with theirs. Like, Magnus fishes for the dev wounds and again goes against the hard targets. The rubrics just blow away all of your infantry and your heavy infantry at, like, AP3 if you need it with Twist of Fate, with full rerolls to wound if you're on objectives. And then they can overwatch you at AP1 with full rerolls, like, after the Doom Bolt. So Thousand Suns in general are just really good. They got a lot of really good stuff going on, and Magnus really likes to make use of how the army plays. However, while he is amazing, he's not impossible to stop, and if your opponent does have a lot of dev wound output themselves, such as like a mirror match or something like Votan Terminators with full rerolls from a land fortress, then Magnus will go down quick. But a good player just won't let you get to him. A good player will just make sure that that kind of damage dies first, or is out of range, or is out of line of sight, or is forced to deal with some other more immediate threat. But a 440 point model like this should kind of be really good, you know? But I don't know if it should be this good. Like, he kind of just does whatever the fuck he wants, which I guess is on theme for Magnus, right? So he does have drawbacks, but he doesn't have very many. His benefits greatly outweigh his drawbacks, and he's definitely an auto take. A 440 point auto take. But trust me, once you get good with him, he's pretty much unstoppable. And so, I think that's going to do it for our deeper dive into Magnus the Red. So if you hairy wizards liked this episode about the most fancy space wizard, then give the flesh change to the like button, Thunderhammer subscribe, power fist the bell icon, leave a comment, check out our other videos. You guys are the best, and remember, Magnus did nothing wrong. And I'll see you guys at the Theory Hammer Lab in the next video.